On my 18th birthday, November 19th, 2013, Disney's Frozen premiered at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, California. 3 days later, the rest of the world was cursed with this brainwash of a monopoly scam. It was the highest grossing film of that year by a landslide. As of right now, it's ranked as the 11th highest grossing film in the world. As of right now, and probably for a long time, it's the highest grossing animated film in the world, beating Toy Story 3, which was the highest grossing Pixar movie of all time, and beating The Lion King, which used to be Disney's highest grossing film of all time, being released in 1994. For the first few years of Frozen's infanthood, everyone was obsessed with how groundbreaking the animation was and how Frozen was the first film to tackle feminism. Really? The fans also admired how beautiful the sisters Anna and Elsa's relationship was, especially towards the end of the movie. I think another movie already tackled that subject 11 or 12 years before this movie came out. Or it does the topic of a girl choosing her own path instead of the stereotypical route. Oh, for God's sake, Pixar accomplished that the year before. Now you people are not even trying to win this fight. And if you haven't guessed by my tone of voice already, after the releases of Big Hero 6, Inside Out, Zootopia, Finding Dory, Moana, Coco, and the most recent Incredibles 2, Frozen's fanbase has been dying because most of the community started to realize that Frozen was not the masterpiece of a movie they thought it originally was. And yes, I was one of those people who used to like it at first, but ended up hating it due to watching it multiple times, and coming from an English major and a film enthusiast, Frozen is considered one of Disney's worst films story-wise.
So, with little girls continuing to dress up like Anna and Elsa in the parks, and with Epcot receiving or had been having a very underwhelming boat ride that basically has the most evacuation shutdowns in all of amusement park Disney history, this movie is what I like to call a dried up cash in. And you know that little thing earlier that said this was going to be a movie review? No, this is going to be far from that. This is going to be more of an angry Disney fan rant, because from basically beginning to end, or beginning of its conception to present day how it is now, it's the most aggravating thing I have ever seen in my life. My first complaint of this movie is its soundtrack. Now, don't get me wrong, the whole entire thing is not gonna be, or this part for me, it's not gonna be a giant, huge complaint fest, because for the most part, the album is actually decent for this movie.
Frozen Heart is the perfect beginning song to describe the setting. Do You Want to Build a Snowman makes me cry every single time I listen to it. For the First Time in Forever is actually a decent song. Love is an Open Door is a catchy tune, sung by the two most wrong people ever. Let It Go got its fame how it should, and it definitely proved that Idina Menzel still has it.
And then you get to the second half.
Reindeers Are Better Than People shouldn't be on the soundtrack in the first place. In Summer is a catchy sidekick jam, not the best I heard, but it's cute to my admission. The reprise for The First Time in Forever is one of the best out of the second half. Then you get Fixer Upper. Out of all the songs that sound like they don't fit into this movie, it's this! I get it. It's the song that's supposed to connect Anna and Kristoff. The couple's song. Why not Love is an Open Door reprise? That sounds a million times more fitting than trolls literally trolling these two characters behind on what romance should be.
It's not even clever to the point of, like, I think the writers forgot that in the middle of the production, they were like, oh yeah, this is a Disney princess film. We need a couple's song in there because the one that was thrown in before, that's not the couple's song. That's basically fake and all that whatnot. But Like this movie ever really needed a couple song in the first place.
The deluxe version of the soundtrack supplies the listeners with a lot of songs that were cut from the production, and those are a lot better than what we actually got. I actually learned from a friend that Let It Go was basically the foundation for the rest of the script. Yeah, that's fine for an opera, not for a full-fledged movie.
And let me explain that in the character department. Underdeveloped is the proper word I would use to describe every single important character that came out from this movie.
You can really tell that the writers thought that the soundtrack was way more important, because even though I can name all of the characters without issue, I only truly know them by one personality trait. Anna is an unrealistic ditz who wouldn't be able to graduate high school if she tried. Kristoff is the sarcastic one who points out the obvious and ends up being one of the most likable because of it. Sven is, well, Sven, who can hate a giant puppy in a reindeer's body. Olaf is the child version of Anna to a T, and only Josh Gad can voice this character.
Oh, look at that. I've been impaled.
Hans is Trump and Putin combined. Sorry for the politics. The Duke has no reason to be even in this movie, even though he should have been the villain according to the original trailer to this movie. The only character who has the most development and is a real character is Queen Elsa. And even saying that is like an insult. She's the one who has a full character arc with her powers and everything. She loves her sister and she doesn't want to hurt her. That makes a million times sense because of what happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. However, I think her after her powers are revealed arc is not fleshed out at all. In the original design of the film, Elsa was supposed to be the villain. I think that still could have worked because Elsa probably could have used her powers for revenge on the kingdom because of how they treated her like a monster. The Duke literally called her that.
Monster! Monster!
But because people kept pressuring Disney to release the movie already, they had to cut even Elsa short. But no one pisses me off more than Princess Anna. She is by far the worst Disney princess I have ever seen. Yes, even worse than Aurora, worse than Ariel. If I had to replace Anna with a different character to make this movie better, I'd replace her with Emperor Kuzco. That would be more interesting. Anna is the literal I need a prince to be happy trope, even though it was established that she just wants her sister. Where did the prince thing even come from? It just came out of nowhere. Did she read fairy tales as a child? Did she learn about romance before her parents died? I'm sure she did. But did that give her that much inspiration to literally fall in love with the guy who wants to kill her and her sister in order to take over the kingdom that her parents left behind? What's the context? There is none. And she doesn't realize that her sister matters more until she witnesses Hans holding the sword over Elsa like she's going to be slaughtered like a pig. That is way worse to me than Ariel falling in love with a guy who almost drowned in the ocean and wants to risk her mermaid life for. At least Eric didn't want to turn Ariel into sushi when he discovered who she really was.
So okay, I'll play devil's advocate right now. Yes, stranger danger is very important to teach your kids. And it still applies to this very day. However, what about the fact that basically this movie is trying to conquer the one Disney trope that Disney's been using basically ever since Snow White? Well, this is where I'm also going to conquer that trope because the love at whole first sight thing, it's not exactly as black and white or as convoluted to stranger danger as we think it is.
The love interests prove to each other that they deserve one another, and this starts all the way back to Snow White. The prince meets Snow White, and throughout the whole film, even though we only saw him for less than 10 minutes for the entire movie, actually I think it's less than 5, but he was looking for Snow White after she disappeared, and he was heartbroken when he thought she was dead when he found her with the dwarves. Prince Charming and his father sent an order to find Cinderella through her slipper because he wanted to see her again and marry her. The original film planned for Cinderella was actually that the Prince Charming did find her and profess his love to her after finding out that Cinderella was her stepmother's maid, which is a lot more powerful when you think about it. Prince Philip rescues Aurora from her curse and Maleficent's evil magic. Beast treats Belle like a princess after saving her life from the wolves and getting to know each other more. Aladdin does his best to prove to Jasmine that he is different from the rest of the princes she's met. John Smith was willing to make peace with Pocahontas' father, which is what she wanted. Shang proves to Mulan that she's more than just a pretty face.
You fight good.
Oh. Thank you.
Naveen proves to Tiana that he is willing to give up his wealth to help her achieve the restaurant she's always wanted. Flynn comes to realize that Rapunzel gave him the first moments of compassion that he's never felt in his life before meeting her, so he fights to rescue her from Mother Gothel to give her what Rapunzel really wanted more than anything else. Hans does nothing for Anna except look pretty and compliment her on her looks. Speaking of the whole love interest thing, Kristoff doesn't really do much of anything either, except return her to the castle when Elsa accidentally strikes her sister in the chest. To sum it up, Olaf said it best.
Some people are worth melting for.
And Olaf said it best when it came to how the writers dealt with this movie.
Wow, you really don't know anything about love, do you?
Thank you, Josh Gad. You did good this time. But then again, you screwed it up again in Pixels and in the live-action Beauty and the Beast.
No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's neck as incredibly thick as Gaston. There's no man.
But it's the message that counts, right?
So you mean to tell me that you're still following behind the film when the overall message is, hey, remember our tactic of love at first sight? Yeah, don't do that, because you'll end up turning both your sister and the guy who's trying to help you away just so you end up dying because of a curse that your sister accidentally put on you. Try listening to what I just said again and see if that makes any sense whatsoever.
So, was I impressed by Frozen at all, despite the fact that the soundtrack is somewhat decent? Well, I will give this movie credit that the fact that the animation is done very well. In fact, there's one quote from the movie that Anna says that turns out to be the smartest thing she's ever said.
I never knew winter could be so beautiful.
Thanks, Anna. And yes, the winter is the only good thing that Disney can do, despite the fact that this movie took way too short to finish for the quality that it is for now.
I like to call what Disney did to Frozen the Sonic 06 treatment. The only way I can explain what that is showing you this clip from the Game Grumps.
Trucking back to look how silly this is!
Are they gone?
You have to like do. Okay. Aaron, don't leave! Aaron, don't. Aaron! I love you!
No, I'm fucking done! I'm fucking done!
No, you're not!
This is bullshit!
I'm gonna go.
This is fucking bullshit!
I can't get off!
What is this?
I can't get off!
What is this?
I'm stuck!
What is my life?
Uh-huh. Though Frozen is not exactly a huge mess and everything like Sonic 06 was, but it definitely lands itself in between the Black Cauldron's boldness and failure and Chicken Little's almost there, but missed the mark by a slim margin. Yes, I just admitted that Frozen is better than Home on the Range and the Black Cauldron. But Chicken Little still beats it by a landslide. Even Brother Bear beats it too. Okay, maybe Frozen is better than Cars 2. Not even Home on the Range can beat Cars 2 as the worst movie ever. Or The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, for Pete's sake, I'm going off track with this.
In all honesty, Frozen is a throwaway film to put kids in front of the TV in order to make them shut up for an hour and a half. It worked for my baby cousins. I'm sure it works for a million other children. But it didn't work for my 16-year-old sister, it didn't work for her 16-year-old best friend, and it mostly didn't work for my 18-year-old self.
I want to thank you guys for listening to this one heck of a Disney rant. And I promise if I ever were to review other Disney movies, it would not exactly be like this. It's just, I hate this movie so much that it needs to be said. I mean, for those of you who want to make a counter argument on why Frozen is actually a good movie, try it in the comment section below. I dare you. I'm Cait Cher, and if you like Frozen, I feel so bad for you. Ciao!